Vitya Diaries Chapter 27. Too much. We didn't need hours. I was out of there in 15 minutes, shuffling Mokyu into the elevator and hiding as much of my face with my scarf as possible. Nico'd given me money for cab's fare, even though Vaganova wasn't that far from the hotel. We'd gone from kissing to really kissing to something else way before I even realized it. Though I should have. It was my fault. I wasn't thinking. Grinding on him like that. Of course it would have a certain effect, even fully clothed. I just wanted to get closer. I wasn't expecting it to get so serious or intense so quick. Kissing was fun. Making out was fun. But then Nico was making those sounds and grabbing my back, and we were on totally different pages of our love story. Miska. His breaths were ragged. I didn't even know what I'd done until it was over. Then he was looking at me and I was looking at him, and we were staring in silence. I'd never seen his face like that before, or anyone's, really. It was different than it was in the movies. I couldn't tell if he was mad or embarrassed or happy or what. "Are you okay?" Nico swallowed, and I watched his throat, so hyper-focused that I swear could see his pulse. "Yeah, I think I need to, change, though, maybe. Shower." "Oh, yeah, of course." He let go of me, and once I was off of him, he had to make some adjustments before he could stand. "Did you want to stay?" "I'll just be a few minutes." I thought about it for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but shook my head. Something had changed, and that something had wedged its way between me and stability, and I needed to recenter. I should take Mokyu out. "Oh right, the dog." He hesitated at the door. "Tomorrow, then?" "Yeah, tomorrow." He kissed me. One gross, awkward kiss on the cheek, but I didn't complain. I just smiled and waved and left with my dog on a walk of shame out of the room, down the hall, to the elevator, through the lobby, into the cab, all the while going crazy, crazy, crazy. By the time Mokyu and I got to the academy, I was having trouble holding back my giggles, which had the cab driver peering at me in the rearview mirror like I was nuts. I couldn't help it. Nico really liked me like that. He'd acted like such a serious guy, so put upon and cold, but he'd come apart so easily, flustered and messy, and wow, it had not taken much to please him. It would have been disappointing if it weren't so funny. Why? I take back everything I ever said about figure skaters. Why? And ballerinas. Me. Good. Why? What do you want to do tomorrow? Why? I can meet you at the dorms. Me. It's okay. I'll meet you downtown. I was thinking we could go to a movie. Me. If we sit in the back we can hold hands. Why? I want to see your room smile. It wasn't hard to figure out what he was saying. Skip the formalities, Vitya. I want you. Nico was just like any other dumb boy, and now he'd had a taste of the Nikiforov experience. Of course he wanted to see my room. Me. Sure, that's all you want to see. Me. But okay, sure. We'll meet at the academy and then go out. Why? Deal. Me. Just let me know when you're on your way. Saturday meant early morning practice at the rink and ballet workshops afterward. Nico texted halfway through the second dance class to ask if he could come yet, and while I had half a mind to tease him, I waited until class was over to reply. Me. Just got out of class. Going to shower. 30 minutes. Why? I'll try to wait that long. I tried to hurry. Nico had already seen me covered in sweat from skating, but I didn't really want that again, especially if he hoped for a repeat of last night's hot makeouts, or more. A day of ballet was a lot worse than an hour of skating, too, and I was gross. My hair would be a little damp, but that was better than being rank. Nico could deal with it. Funny, that. It was when I was toweling off that I realized I didn't care so much anymore. A couple of months ago, hell, just yesterday, I never would have even considered letting him see me less than perfectly put together. I still wanted to be cute, sure, but I wasn't planning on anything elaborate. Hair in a ponytail, comfortable jeans, a loose-fitting tee and jacket. After seeing him come apart, it felt like enough. I was enough, because I knew he wanted me enough that I didn't have to sugarcoat all of the rest or work quite so hard. It made the tiger in me purr. Why? Can I come now? Me. Was that pun intended? Why? What pun? Why? Miska. Why? Please. He really was too much fun, even if it was a little too easy. Me. Sure, just finishing up now. Why? On my way. It wouldn't hurt to use a little makeup, especially since the plan was to go out, not stay in where he could get his grabby paws all over me. So I fetched my makeup bag and set to work in front of the vanity in my room. I could have used the shared bathroom, but even though we all had to use makeup sometimes, I really didn't want to put up with any questions from the other guys. Not today, when I couldn't stop going red whenever I thought about Nico and the sounds he'd made and what he might try to do next, wondering how far I was willing to go. It had never really seemed like a risk before, something I'd even needed to consider for a long time, but Nico was a different kind of beastie. Could we get caught? The academy walls were cracked with age. The doors didn't lock. What would happen if someone walked in on us? The other boys snuck in their girlfriends sometimes. Somehow that seemed a lot more forgivable than this. I picked out a shade of watermelon lip gloss to give my lips just a tiny bit of color under the shimmer, and had just about finished when I noticed a whisker one dark hair at the corner of my lip sticking out like a jagged thorn. Carefully, I put the cap back on the gloss and leaned into the mirror to inspect the wire, and all the little blonde ones that had grown in next to it. None that I'd ever noticed before. I held my breath, fingers tracing the rest of my skin above my lips, then along both sides of my jaw, watching all of the color drain from my face. I sucked in a breath. My stomach heaved and I bit down hard, fighting back the sickening gut punch that threatened to knock all of the kasha out of me. Mokyu-chin whimpered at my side. Somehow, I made it to my waist bin in time, and when I was done throwing up, I called Coach from the floor. "Coach," I gasped. "Come get me." "Vitya, what's wrong?" "I'm sick. I'm really, really sick." I texted Nico from the back of Coach's car with Mokyu-chin piled into my lap and both of us huddled against the door. When Nico tried to call, I sent him to voicemail twice. Me, sorry something came up. Me, coach is taking me to an appointment. Me, I couldn't get out of it. Me, I'm so sorry. N. Why? What? N. Why? Miska, hold on, I'm almost there. N. Why? I'll call you. So am I taking you to the hospital, Vitya, or drive? Mative? Neither. I muttered. Your house, please. I caught him glancing back at me in the rearview mirror, but he said nothing, just shook his head. I got my arms around Mokyu's neck and buried my face against his chest, hoping beyond hope that I could somehow will everything that was happening away. Too much had already changed this year. I didn't know if I could take much more. Coach offered tea when we got to his house, but I asked for vodka. Not yet, he sighed. Nice try. I scuffed my toe into the carpet, tugging at the loose strings of my jacket's hood around my face. Fine. Tea. Once we were seated and I had my black tea with lemon and coach had his cookies, it turned into a sort of staring match until I had to look down at the table. Ashamed. I wasn't able to win against him like I used to. I was that beaten. The world had been so cruel to me. I was nothing like I wanted to be. Coach cleared his throat. Vitya, what is going on? I sniffed. How to even start if this is a cry for attention? I already explained that I have other students to look after. Vitya. No, I croaked. That's not it. Is it that, boy? Are you two having a fight, huh? The thought made everything hurt so much more all at once. Where had that come from? No, we're not. No, coach. The old man looked even more confused than before. He's here, isn't he? Yes, and that's the problem. My shriek did nothing for his taut expression, which went tighter still as he frowned. Vitya, coach. I took a deep breath and leaned forward to show him. Look. He looked, squinted, stared, shook his head when he didn't see the very obvious, horrible thing that I was gesturing at. What? Do you have a pimple? No, coach. I'm growing a beard. He blinked, examining again, and leaned back in his chair, regarding me with a frown, but I could see the corner of his mouth twitching like he was trying not to smile, which only made me feel worse. You're growing up, Vitya. We've been over this before. Mokyuchin pressed his body against my leg a little harder, and made a loud, pitiful wailing sound that made coach wince. And you're upsetting your dog. It's all right. It's just a little facial hair. Why don't you just shave it off? Unable to hold back any longer, I burst into tears. Ugly, loud, body-shaking sobs. I don't know how. There was a long break of awkward quiet from coach while he let me cry, the only sound being my stupid breathing as I tried to stifle and choke the tears without much success. Mokyuchin put his chin in my lap, whimpering, and it all collapsed in on me with so much force that I wanted to be sick again. I suppose. Your papa never taught you, coach said eventually, voice stiff, uncomfortable. It had been years, but it didn't make the sting of the question hurt any less. I shook my head. It was hard to remember the man my papa had been at all, much less to try to imagine something like that. He'd wanted things for me. I knew that. Haircuts, better clothes, to be calmer, more respectable. Thinking of him at all made it too easy to imagine his disapproval of me now. Vitya, your mascara. Coach offered his handkerchief and a vaguely horrified expression. It is all right. Your coach will show you how. He looked away from me and my smeared makeup. If you'd like me to, that is. I did. And I told him so by pushing back from the table and collapsing against his shoulder to hug him as tight as I could because I didn't trust my voice. Fortunately, he seemed to understand, and put an arm around my back, squeezing me against his side. Oh, Vitya, he said with a sigh. What will we do with you? Hours later, coach took me back to Vaganova under the cover of darkness and drowning in the scent of his aftershave. I was too full from the Zarko he'd offered at dinner and too tired from all of the emotions to argue, even though I wanted to be anywhere but school. You don't have any clothes to change into, and you have workshops in the morning. It wasn't fair that he knew my schedule so well. Vitya, make sure to text that boy back. Let him know that you are alive. Also, I'd been dodging his attempts at communication all evening, too embarrassed to explain what was going on. The idea of getting into it now did not sound like a good time. Okay, unless, of course, you plan to break up with him. Then, by all means, coach. I whined, but he had a good point. I'd have to get back to him sooner or later. Eventually, I just wanted it to be after he left for Moscow again. When we reached the dorms, coach didn't let me just slip away into the night. He turned off the car and actually walked with me and Mokyuchin to the door. Vitya, he said with a hand on my shoulder. I've given you everything that you need. You know what to do. Duh. I looked down at the bag in my hands, and the heavy box with all of the shaving supplies inside. Coach had gone over it step by step with me and his own things, then gone out to get me my own. I still didn't know what to say about any of it. The steel razor handle felt so heavy in my hand, too adult and masculine, too real for me to really process it fully. Then the whole shaving kit box with extra blades, the brush, the lathering cream. It was just too much, overwhelming, like Lelia's makeup case, but I nodded. Duh. Thank you, coach. Then he pulled me into another tight hug, both arms around my whole self, and held me for several long seconds in silence. When he let go, it was with a bittersweet smile, ushering me toward the door. Go on, Vitya. You will be all right. I wasn't sure what the look on his face meant, and I wasn't sure that I liked it. If anything, it made everything feel even less all right than before. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to be away from coach. I didn't want to talk to Nico or think about having to see him again. Coach left, and I rubbed my face as I watched his car fade into the night from the window of the second floor hallway. At least my skin felt smoother than I could remember. Like well-worn slippers. It was perfect. Calming. I loved it. Coach had done a good job. Warm lather, good soaps, fine brush, fine razor taking the imperfections away with such a close, precise shave. The rest of my body was appalling in comparison. Hair everywhere. Fine hair, sure, but it was still there. But I had a way to deal with it. Now. Why? What the hell, Miska? Why are you ignoring me? Why? Are you sick or are you just pissed off? Why? What do you not like me anymore? Why? Are we breaking up? If we do, Lenka held my arm by the wrist and tugged me this way and that. No, that's not quite right. What if it was Monday afternoon, and I let Lenka move me across the empty stage, half asleep and in no mood to argue, as if I didn't have enough to do. We had our recital in 8 weeks. Fortunately, she was happy to do her part or to take over. As it was, I don't really want to do something standard, do you? She asked. Though we could do something from the Nutcracker anyway. I turned away from her hopeful gaze to mock you chin asleep next to our duffels. Won't you be sick of it by then? She flashed a pretty smile. Look, I'm determined to get you to be my Nutcracker one way or the other. It's not surprising or clever. What? Do you want to do one of your famous skating routines? I shrugged. At least it'd be original. She scowled, and I took that as my cue to retrieve my phone from one of the waiting prop chairs. Nico hadn't texted since his last question, and I still wasn't sure what to say. It seemed so extreme. Breaking up because I hadn't replied quickly enough? He'd done worse, but still, maybe running out on him while he was in town was a bit too much. Vitya, something wrong? I fumbled with the phone in my hands to cover it and shook my head. No, just drama. Oh, she wilted. Does it have to do with those? Lenka gestured at my arms and the band-aids I'd plastered on here and there, then at my feet, where another had gotten stuck to my ballet slippers. What? No, overeager shaving had nothing to do with my boyfriend problems. Sort of. Maybe it did, but she couldn't know that. I frowned. Anyway, the recital? You should try getting waxed instead of shaving. Vitya, that's all I'm saying. I went red. I know I did because I could feel it, and there was no denying it. Or the fact that it only got worse when she started laughing. You didn't. All over. Did you? She asked. Vitya, oh no, no wonder you're so grumpy today. Okay, look. I barked loud enough that Mokyuchin sat up to attention. That's enough. Lenka, if you want to dance, we need to dance. Otherwise, I'm going to focus on skating. She stifled her laughing and nodded, pulling it back a few notches. Fine. If you absolutely refuse to do the Nutcracker, what do you want to do? We'll do what you said, a ballet that looks like skating. I can choreograph it, teach you how to do the jumps and spins convincingly. The giggles gave way to a different kind of laughter, genuine excitement. It'll be like a nice dance. Pairs. Actually, since I'll be lifting you above my head and it'll give us a lot more freedom for interpretation. Lenka sighed. I don't think they're going to be paying that much attention. But sure, all right. If you insist, Mr. Professional. I bit my lip to keep myself from explaining again, that we weren't allowed to be professionals, strictly speaking, when competing in the circuit. But it really seemed like splitting hairs right then. Lenka wouldn't get it anyway. Your face looks great, by the way. I startled from my thoughts just as she got her hand on my chin to turn it this way and that. Huh? Oh, your jaw. Your facial features were already really nice. But I love the clean-shaven look. Sveta is going to be so excited. I texted Nico back as soon as practice was over. Me, no. We're not broken up. I'm sorry, things came up. I had to deal with me, stuff, me, I miss you, me, I love you, me. Please don't be mad. Why? Oh, so you came crawling back, huh? Me, the truth is I wanted to be totally ready for when we kiss next time. Why? I think I get it, Miska. It was a relief to see that we were on the same page again. He wasn't mad anymore. I didn't have to worry about the stupid girls at my school. Just me and my dumb boyfriend. Nothing complicated. Why? I'll be prepared for next time, too. Why? I'll even bring protection. Shit.